we want to be builders and not destroyers. And it's so easy to destroy, but it's a lot harder to be excited about finding a way to build somebody up. And the more you can find those guys that are good at that, they bring others with them and they learn how to do it. And it's a learned behavior because that's not our nature. I mean, we don't want to be about other success. We want to be about our own.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach at the University of Central Oklahoma, Bob Hoffman. Coach Hoffman played at Oklahoma Baptist from 1975 to 1979. He was then hired as the head women's coach at Southern Nazarene University, where his team won the NAIA National Championship in 1989. From there, he returned to his alma mater as the men's coach for the following 10 years. Prior to his time at Mercer University, Coach Hoffman went on to coach in the American Basketball League and the NBA Development League. He led Mercer to the university's first NCAA tournament victory in an upset over number 6 Duke in 2014. In 2019, Coach Hoffman returned to Central Oklahoma. He's won 656 games at various levels of play over a 43-year career. Coach Hoffman was a two-time Atlantic Sun Coach of the Year in 2013 and 14, and was named MIAA Coach of the Year in 2022. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
All right.
All good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. Coach, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing really good.
Thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on, talking hoops with me. This is an honor for me.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Coach Aker at Oklahoma Baptist just said the nicest things about you and how much he admires and learned from you. And so this was just a no-brainer on my side.
Well, he was a blessing to us as well. All those years we've been together in different spots, it's big time, and he's doing a great job where he's at.
Yeah, he
My
is.
alma mater, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I was able to take my son to one of his elite camps last spring. And when you go to those elite camps, you never know how much you're going to see the head coach. You know, it's his elite camp, but is he there, or are the other guys running it? But he took the guys through all of the drills. Obviously, his staff was there. We got to see a little bit of how he coaches his guys, which loved the amount of truth that he was giving them throughout the workout. So I think you did well in guiding and teaching him with your time together.
awesome. He's good, really good.
Well, Coach, I got to ask first about daily habits, because you've been coaching some type of team from 1981 over almost 4 decades into your 5th decade, I think. And daily habits have to be a big part of your life. What does your day look like?
Well, I'm a weird guy. I actually started in 1979. That's when I graduated from Oklahoma Baptist. I was assistant high school 7th, 8th grade football coach at Piedmont High School before I became the head coach. So I coached a lot of different sports, but my daily routine right now is I get up around 6 and thereabout, eat a little breakfast at my favorite spot, see a lot of people at around the corner where I go, and come into the office before anybody here. And you heard some of the music a while ago. I didn't know it was on. I forgot. But I play music, read a little, read the word, read some scripture, and just kind of get into the frame of mind I need to be to attack the day and try to attack success the correct way, and hopefully get a word beyond my own thought process that can help me no matter what comes my way, because I know the darts are coming.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for a coach like I'm only 17 years into it, to think about the career that you've had and the amount of years you've put in, there's a part of me that just wonders, like, man, How does somebody do that? Like, how do you stay invigorated, stay engaged and excited about what you're doing? I got to imagine those daily habits, getting in the word, that has to be a big part of it.
It is. And, I mean, I'm fortunate. I grew up in a Christian home. My mom and dad. My dad was a pastor. My mom played the piano, and she was a teacher. And then my granddad was a minister. So, like, I've been around it. But at the same time, my faith is about my personal choice, not about my family. But they directed me in a great path to have an opportunity to be successful that way. And I don't shy away from it. And my team and I try to share it. Not that I'm perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I think what it does, it just gets you in a position, your mind, and that morning uh, exercise gets you in a great spot to really understand how you want to go about the day. And then on top of that, I read a lot of books, and John Maxwell is one of my favorite. I'm reading a lot of different ones. I don't know if you've seen Kevin Knox, No Matter What. That's an amazing devotional. It's really
Okay.
good for teams. You should pick it up. I use some of those devotionals with my guys. Like he was a um, he was a chaplain for some pro sport teams, but he put together that book. I love that book. Uh, and really, that's the essence of who I want to be about. No matter what happens today, I want to, the best I can, reflect him, but understand that I'm trying to win a championship. I'm trying to build champions in my players' hearts, build champions in who they are, what they go about. But then as a team, we want to try to find a way to have a championship culture and be special in everything that we do.
And you nailed it earlier too. You said that routine, and especially getting the word, allows you to handle the darts that are going to come that day. I think sometimes maybe when I was younger too, I felt like setting up my day for success or being in the word will stop darts from ever coming at me. And I don't think that's it. I
No,
think it enables us to handle that adversity in a way that doesn't crush us, doesn't make us compromise, allows us to glorify him through what we do.
that's really good. I agree with you. Yeah, it's not stopping it for sure. I wished it would, uh, but it just gives you an opportunity to maybe dodge here and there when you need to,
Or just have the right perspective. The right
reflect
perspective.
properly. Yeah,
Yeah.
reflect properly as you're moving through it.
Because, Coach, I'm at a small private school in Dallas, Fort Worth, 340 kids. And if I'm not careful, I might start to think that the world ends with everything that happens here at Grapevine Faith Christian School. And the perspective that's gained from doing what you're talking about is remembering who's in control, but also that, you know what, this isn't the end of the world.
No, it isn't. But when you lay your head down at night, you want to know that you've given your best effort, and that the next day holds new opportunities. But also the great thing is God gives us new mercies every morning
Yes, sir.
to attack that new day.
What's up, Coach? Are you looking for a way to elevate your off-season skill development? Well, look no further. With the Bology app, you can build a workout with our library or create your own content. Send that workout to your players, and then your players complete the workout by recording their session on their phones. You can monitor and encourage competition with our leaderboards for every workout. Bology offers player development solutions in the palm of your hands. Get your team started today by going to Bology.com for more info.
You coached at so many different levels of play, and I didn't even know about the junior high basketball and football where it all started back in the day. You went to the women's side and won a national championship. You've been at the men's D1. You've been in the D League or G League, and all of these different levels of play. What pillars or standards of your programs have you had that maybe have kind of if there was a common thread that's always gone through. Now, obviously, you can change and adapt over the years, and with kids, it's important to do that. But what are some of the standards and pillars?
Well, I mean, what we talk about a lot is truth, trust, and together. Like, you got to deal in truths when you're in families' homes and recruiting. Uh, it's always been important, but I think it even is more important today because there's not much truth going on in college basketball. I mean, it's just whatever you can sell to get somebody to be at your institution.
Yeah.
And then you got to trust each other. You know, your players have to trust you. You have to trust them. They have to trust each other. But if you're not dealing in truth, there's going to be no trust. You know, there's no way you can ever be all that you're intended to be if you don't deal in truth and then learn how to trust. And then you can't do it by yourself. It's a collective effort, and we try to do it together. So to me, truth, trust, together. There's a lot of other things, go into that. Like for our program, we're big on communication. And, if you come into our practice, I mean, everybody's talking, they're encouraging. The scripture says, therefore, encourage one another and lift each other up, just as you're doing through 1 Thessalonians 5:11. But I think, we want to be builders and not destroyers. And it's so easy to destroy someone, but it's a lot harder to be excited about finding a way to build somebody up. And the more you can find those guys that are good at that, they bring others with them and they learn how to do it. And it is a learned behavior because that's not our nature. I mean, we don't want to be about other success. We want to be about our own. Yeah. And so I think you can teach that, though. And I think I think it can definitely be something that's learned. There's a lot of other parts of that, but I just think the truth, trust, and doing things together and being excited for each other's success is a huge part of what we've been about over the years, for sure.
When you talked about building each other up, players building each other up, it made me think of Frosty's book, that Make the Big Time Where You're At. So many players play the put down game, and he switched it and let's play the put up game. Like how let's be let's tap into that competitiveness that kids have, but point them in the right direction, which is how can we build up or put up our teammates and then celebrate those guys that do that the most. That may be a way to make that or help that culture happen more. I said the culture word. I tried to use standards and pillars. I tried to use it. Yeah.
The buzzword. But you're exactly right. That's a good word for sure. We want to be about building each other up, and there's enough death. We want to be about giving life, and that's exactly what we're trying to communicate when we're encouraging one another and lifting each other up.
Man, I got to ask about that year in the D League.
Yep. With the
Rio Grande Valley Vipers.
First year of that team.
Oh, really? You started
the first year.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was down at Texas Pan American for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I went to OU, and then actually one of our boosters ended up being one of the guys that did the franchise from the Rockets. We were affiliated with 3 teams: the Houston Rockets, Cleveland Cavaliers, and the New Orleans Hornets. So I actually got to go watch all those practices, and that was a learning experience. The year before that, I coached in the ABA in Arkansas, which was even a crazier experiment. We were 25-2, and then our owner shut the team down. We were number 1 in the country. And a lot of the guys didn't get paid. One of the guys that was on that team's assistant at Houston now, Quantus White. But we had a lot of good players.
I didn't realize he played there. I played against him at OU.
Did you? Where'd you play?
At Baylor. I was with Coach Bliss for 3 years, Coach Drew my senior year.
What years were you there?
2000, 2004. So I think
so we played against you in the Puerto Rico shootout. No,
Texas
San Juan
Pan.
Shootout.
Yes, sir. We
We
did.
beat you
Yeah.
in the finals.
That's right. You did. I
In
remember
fact,
that
y'all
game.
were run a 1-3-1, and we at halftime practiced against a 1-3-1. We had a kid by the name of Myrene Chapman, who's out of Dallas Fort Worth area, and he went off that game the second half, and we were able to win that game. I
Coach,
don't know if you remember that, but
I remember the game. And we kind of thought as a Big 12 school that we'd go down to this tournament and win it. And
that's
Coach
crazy you were on that team.
Coach Bliss was not happy about that. And you know, guess what? We called that 1-3-1. We called it the bear trap.
Okay, there you go.
Because we're the Baylor Bears. The problem with his 1-3-1 is he put me at the top, and you know, in my opinion, that guy at the top needs to be athletic, needs to have great instincts defensively, long, and none of those things are me. And but I think maybe just there's a toughness factor and a guy that won't stop moving. But the bear trap, and yeah, I you know what? It's funny. I glanced kind of right over those years that we definitely crossed over there. I looked at the Oklahoma and thought, yeah, I was gone the year that you got there. But that's small world.
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that year I was able to get that job because I had the ABA job. Coach Sampson went to Indiana when I was assistant at Oklahoma. I tried to get the Oklahoma job, didn't happen. I was interim as they were trying to find someone. Oklahoma's my home state. I was hoping it'd work out, but it didn't. And then they hired Coach Capel. I was there for a little bit with him, and I understood he wanted to get his own guys, and but I went to the ABA route, and that was a crazy. In fact, a story about that. So we get down to the end, and we're playing. It's 25-2. We're, like I told you, we're number one in the country. I coached in the All-Star game in Halifax. That was fun. But we get to the end. The owner comes in and say, "Hey, you know, I don't have any money. We're shutting it down. We're in the playoffs. We're getting ready to play in the playoffs. Like we've done all this stuff. Now we're getting ready to play in the playoffs." And he said, "But I do have some land on the Illinois River. I'll give the guys if they want to take it." And I said, so anyway, that was kind of a running joke with all those guys. Every time I see them, how's your land working out for you? How's that working out for you? And anyway, but it was a good time. It was a good time, but I don't think I would have got the D League job if I'd not already done some professional coaching. And then some of the people down there where we'd already been for 5 years knew me, that were involved in the process, and that's how I got there. And it was a good experiment. But I'm a college guy. I'm a relationship guy, which is changing now with the way guys are leaving and coming and going. It's almost becoming professional in a lot of sense. College basketball, now high school. I don't know how it is for sure in Texas, but our guys can even go on the portal, so to speak, here in the state of Oklahoma. It's open transfer, like one time free open transfer.
Wow.
Starting this summer. But anyway, sports in general is just a mess, in my opinion. And I get to have that opinion, and that's why I'm going to.
That's fair.
Have no stated, but I enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
But I got opportunity at the end of that season to go to Mercer, and was excited about. I didn't know if I'd ever be a college coach again.
Really?
After that, didn't know if anybody'd give me an opportunity. You don't ever know. I mean, you don't know. And I was blessed to be where I was, and I could have stayed there. A lot of the guys I coached against ended up being NBA head coaches. Nick Nurse was one of them. Quinn Snyder. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that were in the D League at that time, but I just didn't. I'm not saying I could have done that. I'm just saying that was the path. If you stayed in those circles that you'd hope to get to. But the one thing I would say about that time, that I tell this story a lot when I'm, we don't use any language in practice. I don't allow my guys. I believe the scripture. I think it's a principle back to the life or death. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth except for what is useful for building up others and will benefit those who will listen. And the funny thing is, so when I had a former player of mine was my assistant, Spencer Wright, in the D League. And so the very first day, Gabe Manecki, who played at Texas, was one of our guys. And I mean, we had Kenny Taylor, who played at Baylor and then went to
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
He was on our team. And we had CJ Watson. We had Steve Novak.
Wow.
Man, I had some dudes like
Yeah.
Aaron Brooks. So anyway, so the very first practice, I'd say, hey, we're not going to have any language, and I tell them why. I said, I think if you learn how to control your tongue, you can control everything else about you. And so I'm not going to do it. You're not going to do it. It's push-ups, automatic. And at the beginning we had a little issue, but not
Did they
big.
challenge it a little bit at the
Yeah, a little
beginning?
bit, but then they did push-ups and then they were fine. And there's other pro coaches that do that even today. But I told them I wanted to have an atmosphere anybody could walk in the building and bring their kids or whatever, and they'd have no issues because we have all kinds of boosters we're trying to get involved. This is a startup. And plus it was what I believed in and who I, when you have your own team, you can do what you want. And so anyway, my assistant, Spencer Wright, came to me after the first day. He said, Coach, that was unbelievable that you did that. I know you're about that. He said, you should have seen the look on those guys. And then they were asking me afterwards, said, Coach Wright, is he real about this stuff? Is this really what we're going to do? And he said, yeah, as long as I've known him. And he was from Bronx, New York himself. So like he'd been down a few paths. So anyway, that's it's the same thing we've done ever since. And, I think that goes right into what we're trying to be about, what we're trying to accomplish, of speaking life and not death.
Coach, I want to celebrate your focus and being able to continue to talk through. I don't know if you saw the light and heard the sound, but the fire alarm went off.
No, I didn't hear it. I was just going, man.
A light was flashing behind me and I heard this thing. So anybody that listens, and I apologize for the sound on my end, I did not leave during the fire. So I'm assuming it's a drill. If there's a point where I just get up and sprint out, then maybe I'll feel the wall and see if it's rolling. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. You mentioned Mercer, and I did want to get to talk with that a little bit because, that's where I think I learned about you, and it's that amazing run that you had, beating Duke. And tell me a little bit about what was special, not just about that moment, but maybe that team, that experience.
Well, we had great leadership, and we had a bunch of guys who've been together for 4 years, and we'd won a lot of games together. In fact, we were right at 500 on the road in the SEC.
Wow.
On money games. And so that team was experienced. That year we played at Texas, fought them till the end, didn't win. That year we beat Florida State on the road. So it wasn't the same as that moment in the NCAA tournament. But what I told them is we haven't beat Duke yet, and only because we haven't played them. And I said, we've beaten teams that have beaten them. And that was before we went out on the floor. And I know it's kind of overused now, but back then I told those guys that everybody thinks you're an underdog, but you guys are super dogs and we're going to go get them. And we've beaten all these people that we're not supposed to be playing with, and you can still do it. And in the moment that they were able to do that and who those guys were and what they were about, they were just so consistent in their work and how they approached every day. It was such a blessed time to be a part of all that. And the administration, the people there wanted to win really bad and did a lot of great things to help us, including busing all kinds of students to the game. We had more people there than Duke, and it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 miles from Duke. And it was a big time atmosphere. I tell everybody, that was fun, and the run there was great. I mean, we'd won the CIT championship in 2012, beat Utah State on the road, beat Fairfield on the road, beat Old Dominion on the road. We'd won 5 games. So that group that nucleus already knew how to do that. And the year before, we'd actually finished first, and Florida Gulf Coast beat us at our place to get to go to the NCAA tournament. And Dunk City went to the Sweet 16. Well, we went to the NIT that year, but we had actually beat them. So, we knew, and our team was upset that we didn't get that chance. And watching them do what they did, I think really fueled our guys to push even harder. But in the NIT, we went to Tennessee and won on the road. And then we lost at BYU in the NIT the same year. Florida Gulf Coast had that Dunk City. So the next year we tied with Florida Gulf Coast for the conference championship, and our league was set up for home court. Whoever was the high seed got to host all the way, and they got the tiebreaker. So we had to go to their place, and we won that game
to get in.
It was amazing at their place, and we wouldn't have got to do that. And even before that, we played at home against USC Upstate and won in overtime in the semifinals. And we had a young man, TJ Hallis, off the bench that played amazing. We had a bunch of big guys getting foul trouble. If we don't win that game, we don't do any of the rest of it. So that's the way you experience, every team does. But that was a culmination of several years of those guys sticking together and being really consistent in who they were and what they were about. Their work ethic was great, and they were just so fun to be around. We had a great run.
I love the way that you framed with that team about playing Duke, because I think at every level we have a Duke, like a team
no doubt about it.
A team
Kingfisher was my Duke when I was at Piedmont High School. Kingfisher, we were trying to be Kingfisher.
And I've always wondered, like, what's the best way to approach it with the guys? And I love the way that you said it is we haven't beat them yet, but we know we can because of other factors, other things. I think that's a good, again, just searching for maybe a strategy on what we can say, but then ultimately goes back to what your guys have done, the daily habits, the work that they put in, some of those fights that they've already been a part of that gave you the ability to speak that into them. But I love that approach.
Yeah, I think that's true, because that's a good word. I mean, I love how you summarized what I had said, but I've read this somewhere, and you may know who said it, but I don't think I said it. But your habits have to match your goals.
Yeah.
And I was telling my team just the other week the same thing. Like, if you think you're supposed to play more, or you think you're supposed to be this guy, but your habits don't match what you're trying to attain, there's no chance. I mean, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
It's not reality. And until your dreams put on work clothes, you have no chance, to make it happen.
You've had the ability to coach women as well.
Yeah.
Winning a national title. Tell me a little bit about, like, not just the difference between coaching guys and girls, but more, I guess, of the similarities, and, like, because I've always wondered, like, could I do that? Could I go from coaching boys, most of my time, to coaching girls? How would that go? What was that experience like for you?
Well, we talked about trust earlier.
Yeah.
And, I feel like, or in my experience, I'll share it this way, that if the ladies that I got to coach, even I coached softball for 6 years in high school. So the ladies, if they believe you know what you're talking about, their trust level's at a different spot than guys. I mean, guys want to see if you can hoop, like, before they trust you. Like, they want to know if you can make a basket. Or
that's why I don't shoot anymore. That's why I never shoot, because I want them to always wonder. Man.
Yeah. But they always hold back a little. But if you have to draw up a play and it works, or you have to have an ending, they go, wow, yeah, that's good. Or run something for them, they go, wow, yeah, let's do that. But girls, like first of all, if you're genuine about who you are and what you're about, and then I think the second part is they get excited and they just have a mindset that's completely different of trust, and they can do it quicker and sooner and buy into what you're teaching. Guys are a little more skeptical and want to wait and see what you have to really show them.
All the full decades that you've coached, the game has changed quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, going back to a point where there wasn't a 3-point line,
Yeah.
seeing it go through the
I'm
80s.
old. Go ahead. You can just say I'm ancient. That's fine. I have no problem.
Coach, the fact that you're on this Zoom right now is a bit, no.
Yeah. And I turned it on by myself.
Not at all. Oh, I want to backtrack. No, like that. But seeing the changes in the game, how has it affected your philosophy because you are known for some amazing sets, on the offensive side. Like how has the game changing affected your philosophy in coaching?
Well, I still love messing with people, like taking defensive principles and using them against other teams, and that's what always done the same. And defensive principles have changed, but offensive sets have changed, and I still, that's how we go about it. And a lot of people doing a lot of 5-out. We have actions that we use that are 5-out, but we're always have a play if we don't have a quick hitter or push up the floor. And for me, I like knowing who's going to have the ball.
Yeah.
And I like knowing who's going to shoot. And I think it helps your rebounding in the midst of that. I mean, we led the league in scoring this year. And so I just like scoring the basketball. I like putting people in bad situations. And I like the other team's players when you run something and they're doing what their coaches told them to do on defense, and you get a layup and they're looking over the bench, why are we doing this? And then all of a sudden you kind of get a grasp of the game because now they're wondering. And when you get them wondering, you get in a good spot as a coach, I think. And then so I think that part hasn't really changed. I mean, how we go about it. I mean, I watch film and I still find things. Before I had notebooks I'd have by my easy chair when I'd watch games. I have 2 notebooks. I'd have a program notebook of ideas. When I think of ideas, I'd write them in there. And then I'd have a play notebook. If I saw something on TV I liked, which is great now because you can record or you can go online. It's all over the place. But I've been blessed with a pretty good memory. And so when I'd see something, I really didn't have to see it again, and I could draw it up. And I can see all 5 guys moving and make it happen. Not that, once again, it sounds like I'm talking about myself, but that's what I do. I mean, that's how I go about it.
I do think that's pretty rare. I don't think that's common. Most like I can see something, but I know I got to write it down pretty quick. I think the ability to catalog those things, that's a blessing for sure.
And in the middle of the game, it's able to come back to that same kind of thing of why I write more things down than I used to.
Yeah.
From that, like you're talking about, but I still all year trying to change endings, do things that people aren't expecting, get our guys a different shot, try to get a different layup, start the game with layups somehow, some way that the other teams and so that part hasn't really changed, but how we go about it, and we run a lot of different plays. I mean, I did a video series back in the 90s, VHS series, about plays and getting shots, and I even had them on the video, basically because of Don Meyer. I worked his camps at Lipscomb, and his assistant Ralph Turner was one of my best buddies in coaching, and I'd go out and work their camps and be there for his one-man clinic. So I was around Don Meyer, and we played against him when I was at Oklahoma Baptist. So I started doing some. I think we did 6 videos. We didn't sell quite as many as he did, but like just the mindset is so different now, where you can just go online and get whatever you want. I do think that's hurt coaching a lot, because even like this is good, and I'm sure you're going to share it and whatnot, but I love I still like the clinic aspect of the game, mostly because of relationships.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
so much what you learn, which is good, but just hanging out with other coaching buddies,
Yeah.
going to eat with them. Like the medalist clinics in Dallas were amazing. We'd go every year and spend the night, and eat a little bit of Sweden and places that are no longer there, and crazy places, uh, and we talk ball, like,
Yeah.
whatever Jim Valvano talked about at the medalist clinic. We'd go to lunch and then we would dissect it and take our own take from it. And I think that's really lost
Yeah.
to somewhat the relationship part of clinics.
Yeah, you're right on the money. I want to jump in with that. I think a part of the reason that I'm doing this, because I never thought that anybody would really listen to it. I thought it'd just be me having these one-on-ones, and because of that fact, there isn't, and not, it wasn't just COVID, it was before that. Like there with technology and how easy it is to access information, you don't have to go and bounce things off other people.
Oh,
But
you're right. Yeah.
because of that, we lose that touch. And you're right. TABC still puts on a really good clinic down in San Antonio, and I look forward to that every year. To your point, it's not because of the speakers. It's because my coaching buddies are going down there. And as a private school coach,
Unless it's Buzz Williams, maybe, or somebody,
that's his early bird at 6 a.m. Yeah. But no, it is all the coaches down there are phenomenal, but it's the relationships.
It
it's
is
getting to, yeah.
It is. And I think just learning more about why you do your philosophy, and taking ownership for yourself of your own
Yeah,
philosophy.
can you explain it? Can you explain it to another coach? Like,
Yeah.
do you have the confidence or the knowledge, and then when they kind of fight back or push back on something, you either learn, you know what? I think you're right. I think there's a better way to do what we're doing, or I got an answer for that.
Or let's scrimmage and I'll show you.
That's right. What's your schedule look like? Yeah. You said one thing that I've always thought. So we are a 5-out, and it is more on the race and space idea or side of it. But I love the idea of creating conflict between the opposing coaches, players, and them. Like and you nailed it. Whatever offense you run, whatever system, it better take good defensive principles and make them pay for using those principles. And when you feel that conflict between their players and their coach, then I feel like you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think that takes work.
Mm.
And if you just keep rolling out doing the same thing over and over again, eventually it's going to catch up with you.
Yep.
And then on top of that, a lot of guys don't know how, they've been assistants and they think they know, and then all of a sudden they get their job and they're going to do it a certain way because of the head coach that they've been under or what they think will work. But the adjustment part is the most critical part to being a coach, learning how to adjust, because even if it's a really good thought and it has worked, it's not going to always work. It's just not.
And that's when you hear that's not how we worked on it in practice. Well,
yeah.
If you're saying that in the game, then it's that Jocko Willink idea of extreme ownership. You've got to turn that finger around and point it right back at yourself. Because if it's not working, then it was either not the right plan or it wasn't taught, or, for them to be able to execute it the right way. I'm not talking about effort or things like that, but to
your point, I have a little saying, proper preparation precedes production. Proper preparation precedes production. Like, so we do 5-on-0 like crazy. We'll warm up doing 5-on-0. We do, our guy, we'll do 5-0 in the hotel. We'll do it in the hotel. We'll do it in airport. Whatever. So like our mindset of our guys is that, hey, we're going to execute or be executed, because we're not going to get this done. And execution is who we are,
that.
And if we don't execute, we're in trouble, because this is an identity from year to year of what this program is going to be about. And we're going to put pressure on another team about how we go about executing everything that we do, whether it's offense or defense.
Man, a couple golden nuggets are great ideas. I think that I've gotten from this already. One was the notebooks. I kind of breezed right over it, but love hearing that about your process, because we all see like the NBA game will be on. I'll be like, man, that's good. I like that, and I
Right. No,
might
that's
try to
right.
scramble to get my phone out and ask my wife to rewind it. But if I have the notebook handy, and I like the two notebooks. I like the basketball portion, and then a golden nugget that somebody shares
Right.
after a game or at halftime. Like, get that down. That was one. But the other one was the 5-on-0, because I've listened to some, guys way smarter than me that talk about it should always be live, small sided, building up, whatever. But then, coach, this year we did more. So we try to play free when the ball is live,
Yeah.
like off of a make or a miss. I don't stop them, but on a dead ball, we're going to run something. And this year we've executed better than ever before, but I've done more 5-on-0 with those actions than ever before. So I kind of see the connection between that. But up until this last year, I was one of those guys frustrated with our lack of execution, but yet not really giving them maybe the time or the reps to gain that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I agree with that. Preparation equals confidence. Confidence equals championships. I believe that. I mean, you got to prepare, and we're the same way. I mean, if I don't prepare what we're getting ready to do, or I'm not prepared for practice, we're not gonna. I mean, if we don't have a plan, it's not going to be very good. But if your guys don't, I think, have a plan and visualize what can transpire and what that cut means and why do I have to run a certain way. And sure, we go 5-on-5 live, but we start the day and we finish the day a lot of times 5-on-0. And I just think it's a good way to warm up and get
Yeah.
loose. And you don't have to go 100 miles an hour while you're doing it.
It's better than movement prep, which
Yeah.
is like, oh, golly, I went and worked with a team this year, and I was sitting there and I knew that my part was going to be a little bit later on in their workout. And sure enough, though, their warm up, I mean, it made me think like either I'm not warming up my guys at all compared to this, or this is a lot. Like I'm looking at 20, 25 minutes of time, and there's something to be said, I think, about routines, getting your guys' mind right. This is who we are. This is what we do, habits over time. But 5-on-0, you're moving, you're cutting, you're doing some of the same actions that you might do in a line walking forward.
And no doubt about it. And you're V cutting or what?
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing all those things. So anyway, it served us well. We've done it every place we've been, every level we've done it at. And it's just kind of a hallmark of how we're going to start practice. And, in fact, they make fun of it sometimes, 5-on-0, and then we use echo communication in everything that we do. And and a quick story about that. So when I was coaching women, we win back then. The NAI, there was 900 schools NAI when there was only one division. We win 18 games, lose 2 at home, and then we go on a big run. But we get to the Kansas City, getting ready to play municipal. Yeah, in NAI, you have to win 5 games in 7 days. Back then, now you don't, but you had to win 5 games in 7 days, and there were teams from all over the country. Well, we ended up winning our District 9, it was called, and but I went up early with my AD and the man with the purse, our financial guy, and for some reason we stopped in Wellington, Kansas to bowl. I don't know why, but we're up. We go and we're just laughing and cackling, and our team was coming up the next day, so we went on up. There were some meetings I had to be at; they didn't need to be at. So by the next day, when the team got there for us to practice at Rockhurst in Kansas City, I had no voice. And I'm a loud guy. Like, I mean, I get into it. And so what happened in that practice though was, and I'm getting ready to have to coach 5 games in 7 days. We're going to win a championship. And in that practice, what happened, they got closer to me and listened more intently to what I was saying. And then they were telling each other what to do. And I later learned that that's what the military does. Also, they call it echo commands. But we started doing it in 1989.
Because you lost your voice.
Because I lost my voice. But that moment on, even till today, what I do in practice, the best player, the least player, whatever, we go from drill to drill, and I'll just walk over and say what the next drill is into somebody's ear. And then how fast can we get organized? How can they say that to everybody? They, have different guys saying those things. I think it's really been a good thing. We ended up winning the national championship that year, and we did win 5 and 7. So a lot of people would say you probably should shut up more and not be so loud. But what did happen from that point forward? We called echo communication, and our guys yell echo, and whatever the commands or whatever we're doing, even during games, we're trying to echo what's going on. And it's really been a good thing for us.
I was trying to think about why don't more coaches do that, and then maybe the answer that I came up with is control. Hard to give up control. I think we like to be the loud one and the one that they all listen to, but how much more empowering would it be? I mean, you hear the cliche like player-led teams, but how often do we really put them in positions to lead each other, or do we just like to say that?
No, you're right. No, I agree with that. But anyway, it happened by mistake, and it's continued to be something really good for us. No doubt about it.
The Jamodi Podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Coach, I got one more question for you until the speed round, and then I'll get you out on time.
Okay.
Philosophy on shooting and shot selection, and I'm very curious for you with you because of the sets that you run, and you mentioned it before. You said you like knowing who's going to take the shot. As a group, with your team, how do you discuss shot selection?
Well, we really don't talk about shot selection. I mean, I go back to the Snow Valley theory of camps that if you can hit 7 out of 10 unguarded, some say 6 out of 10, that's a good shot for you. That was way before the 3-point line when they used to use those statistics. But I think just watching your guys and doing different drills, we try to do a lot of drills that simulate how we're going to shoot up the floor. We break down our 5-on-0 full court where we'll throw the ball ahead and take those shots. And then we're doing it for who we keep track of everybody, and we'll run if they don't get it done, a certain percentage collectively. I just think, I think that's an individual conversation I do with those guys. And then I try not to, once we kind of get into it, there might be a moment I'd say, hey, that may not be the best shot for you right now, but I try not to take away their freedom. And that's a hard thing because
it's personal.
You want them to be freed up, but then the next guy doesn't need to be freed up, but you still want them to be free. And so, when you start limiting what they can do, which plays help that because everybody knows who you're running for. So that limits a little more who is going to get that shot. But we spend a lot of time on shooting. We do a drill at the beginning of practice that we call Nugget. And we start out where it's a warm-up drill where it's full court and everybody's moving and everybody shoots the same shots. And, it's mid-range, and then it's 3-pointers, and that's lift and go. And we do it 2-minute segments, and we keep track of how many we make as a team, and we'll be on each other about hey, this kid hadn't missed or whoever, or, trying to get them to talk. And then we'll do another one that most people do now. We call pacer, but we do a lot of full court shooting, and then we do a lot of breakdown. We do attack shots. So in our offense, no matter what we're running, if the play breaks down and the ball's driven a certain way, everybody's moving in concert. And so we practice those things. Or if the ball's thrown in the post, everybody's cutting. We call it cut, fill, fan. Everybody's going to certain spots. And so it's just orchestrated thing over and over again, that those are the shots and those are the spots everybody's going to be in if we don't get the action in the play that we designed and we hoped would work. But if the defense plays you different than we thought and you can beat them this way, then everybody's moving. We're not standing and watching you go on your own.
That's a unique balance that I think you have of running plays, but then the ability to still make plays. Because I think especially maybe at the younger levels, like when I would watch my son, go to select ball practice when he was in junior high, and they're running a pretty developed play, like multiple actions on top. But I'm thinking there's like 8 ways this can go wrong right here with these junior high kids. But, they would all catch and hold and not be players. So it sounds like you still have that ability with those guys.
No doubt about it. We want them to have freedom to play. I mean, what we tell them, we're trying to put you in a position to be successful. But if there's an opportunity to always attack, we want to go. We're trying to get layups every time. So if you can get downhill or you feel like you can beat this guy in the midst of it, I'll talk to you later about if I didn't think that was good. But
yeah,
you need to believe that that's the right thing, and don't be thinking about me while you do it.
And you said something too that was huge about your shot selection, or those conversations, or it would be discussed in practice. I wonder how many times we see shots or things happen in practice, we don't address them, but then in a game it becomes really important for us to talk about what kind of shots are we taking? Like, if they're taking them in practice, that needs to be addressed then.
No doubt about it. And that I try to bring them over and talk to them or sub them out in the midst of that and say, hey, I don't know if that was the best thing right now, but keep working on it. Maybe you can get where it will be.
Coach, the speed round. These are quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, blurt it out.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate almond.
Oh, that's the first.
Brahms, chocolate almond.
Yeah. Greatest shooter of all time?
Curry.
Nice. Your best gym that you've ever coached in, or your favorite gym?
Well, Brigham Young is pretty amazing. Marriott Center.
Wow.
We played up there when I was NEI coach at OBU, lost to him by 1 point in a tournament. And then we played again, like I told you, in the NIT. But I like that. I thought Gallagher Iba was really good back in the day when I was
loud there, Coach. Loud there.
That was amazing gym. Iowa State is crazy too.
Yeah.
But anyway, those would be the ones that come to mind. I mean, that was not one answer, but
that's okay. Best basketball movie of all time?
Hoosiers.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
I'm in Texas. We don't have a shot clock. So for high school, shot clock or no shot clock? Shot clock, definitely. No doubt about it. You got to have shot clock. I know some schools can't afford it, but we need to find a way to get them. Especially in Dallas, Fort Worth, or in Texas, at these 5A, 6A levels, which we're really dealing with a lot of college players or future college players at that level. Yeah. Takes away some of the strategy, but I mean, that I used myself back then. Yeah. But I think shot clock's definitely there. Favorite holiday? Christmas. You're up 3 on defense with 5 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul? No foul. Okay. It's pretty split down the middle right there. Yeah, no foul. I've lost games a lot of different ways when all that came out, and I've just almost lost to Northwest Missouri doing that. Trevor Hudgens ended up hitting a 3, who's won several national championships in D2. Ben McCollum is one of the best coaches in the country. I hope he gets a D1 job soon, but we didn't foul. He hit a 3. Then it happened again.
We still didn't foul. He missed the second one in overtime, thankfully, but everybody on the bench was wanting to foul, but we didn't practice it. And I wasn't going to do something we hadn't practiced.
There it is.
I still don't believe in it. And I know Houston probably wished they might have fouled.
Wow. Good call, Coach.
Yeah.
Good call.
But I know Coach Sampson doesn't believe in it.
Yeah. I think I heard Coach K years ago say, like, he's not going to intentionally do something that allows them to score.
Yeah. Yeah.
What book would you give someone besides the Bible?
Yeah, I love the great answer. The one book that I've read multiple times from John Maxwell, it's called Failing Forward. And just so many principles because we all fail. But what are we going to do when that happens? What's the next step to get out?
Love the title right there. That's a t-shirt.
Because we talk about a lot about being forward focused, not past possessed, and with our guys and our team and the next step. And so I love the failing forward. And that quote may be in there. I don't know. Maybe I've read it so many times it comes from there. I don't know. So I'm not going to take credit, but I love that book. Like I mentioned, I love John Maxwell.
Last one, in basketball as a player, who is the GOAT?
Michael Jordan.
Good answer, Coach. Good answer.
And my players don't like that, but we have some great discussion over it.
There's no answer, but I think you're right. No, Coach, this was awesome. So much fun getting to know you and learn more about, man, your amazing basketball journey that you've had. And just thank you for all the work you've done for so many players out there, and also the witness that you are as a believing coach. Like, it's just a pleasure.
Well, I'm grateful and thankful you reached out, and any way I can be of service going forward, love to try.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.